Good afternoon, everyone. It's absolutely wonderful to have you all join us. Really looking forward to the next hour where we will be digitizing a business live in this webinar. A big thank you to PayFast for making this possible. A really big thank you to Business Day, SME Matters. You guys have done a spectacular job as you always do. PayFast, thank you so much for sponsoring this and making this possible. It's so important right now for us to share the stories of digitization, to remove the myth, to explain, in fact, if you approach it right, how logical and simple and sequential it can be. The opportunity to digitize a business in the midst of a crisis could never be better. And the reason is simple. What a crisis does is it changes the status quo. It changes the status quo of your customers who are looking for a different way to engage. Importantly, it changes the status quo of how your team, your employees, your staff, your colleagues have operated for some time, where they too are expecting things to be different. It is the perfect opportunity, if you approach it right, which is what we're going to be doing today, to launch an initial or complete digitization strategy across your business. Once again, really appreciate it, PayFast. It's series number 2 of 4, all on the process of digitizing a business, not only to survive in a crisis, but to thrive during the crisis and accelerate post that crisis. I have a number of people on the screen with me today. I'm going to give you all a really warm welcome. First off, I have Brendan van Niekerk, who is the owner of Chemvalk. And Chemvalk as a business is one of the most unlikely businesses you'd expect to go through a process of digitization. And that's why we selected it. It's a business-to-business player. I will start off, if you will please help me, Trevor, with a 60-second video on what the business does. So we all know what tires are about. That we all know. But the bits and the bobs that make tires function and make tires work, well, they're actually quite boring, but absolutely essential and critical to keep us safe on the roads. Who would have thought that what we will be digitizing is the provider of accessories to the tire maintenance and tire industry as a whole? Brendan van Niekerk is the owner. It's a second-generation business. They have over 1,000 clients right across the span of 1.22 million square kilometers in South Africa that are constantly looking for the bits and pieces needed to support their businesses. The way that we're going to figure this out is firstly by understanding Brendan's business in a bit more detail, figuring out what his strategy is, and then we're going to draw on 3 experts right across the sphere of enabling an e-commerce solution. I'll introduce each and every one of them as we come through them. But first, Brendan, I'm going to turn to you. Give us a quick summary of your business. When did it start? How did it start? What was the family business transition like? What did you do during COVID? And what are we looking at ahead of us today?
So my father started the business in 1977, and we gradually grew that business. We actually manufacture some of our own product line as well as supply a whole range of products to the entire industry. And over the years, we built up a network of sales teams. As you saw in the video, we have about 13 to 15 guys crisscrossing the country, and they literally deliver consumable items for the tire industry. And that's everything from valves, wheel weights, everything that happens behind the scenes that makes a tire retailer work. And then COVID-19 came, and suddenly we were shut down like everybody else. And we were already looking at doing things differently. The COVID-19 accelerated that to such an extent because we suddenly had all these challenges. We weren't as mobile as we were. We looked at all the changes that were happening around us. And now we've had to really step on the gas with making it accessible for customers to place orders, to get what they need. The important thing to remember with what we do is a lot of our customers need it yesterday. So we have to gear ourselves around that. We traditionally have a sales team that calls on a call cycle, 2 to 3 weeks. We're literally going around the country every 2 to 3 weeks between all of these vehicles and vans. And we needed a way that we could really maintain that relationship with our customers, at the same time be able to deliver convenience and deliver our products, at a much more quick availability and things like that. So that's really why we looked at our digitization process.
So that's really interesting, because any digitization journey, in fact, any success in any business, am I right, Brendan, starts with understanding your customer. What problem do they have? And most importantly, what experience do they need in having it sold? Certainly my experience that I've had in the tire fitment environment, having worked with Bridgestone amongst others, is that the type of folks that run those businesses are profoundly practical. And when it comes to the bits and the bobs, the small little wheel weights, the things that help you measure whether the rubber function is acceptable or not acceptable, the depth of the tread, all those small consumables, it's kind of last minute. I put my hand in the bucket to pull out a wheel weight. The bucket is empty. Damn, I need to order more wheel weights. It's kind of a lastminute.com idea. Am I right in understanding them that way?
Yeah, just to an extent, a lot of it is really like that. We're not a top of mind type of product, but we fill an essential critical component to the operation of a tire retailer. So when things run out, it's the guys are very used to having a very personal relationship with our sales team. And from the video you see, that's our engagement. And even outside of that, on the reps trips, it's on the phone. They don't, the technology engagement is very low. They'll pick up the phone and get something quickly. Can you get me this? Can you get me that? Okay, are you going to be there next week? Okay, cool. It's okay. It's not urgent, but I'll wait till you come next week. And the things have changed to such an extent now that everything seems to be speeding up, and the operation of a lot of these guys have become far more critical. Even during COVID-19, funny enough, the tire industry was very operational over the level 5 lockdown. And luckily, when we went to level 4, we were quickly able to mobilize our sales team. But even within that, we had challenges. We couldn't do our itineraries and our long routes and say, okay, well, we'll see you guys next week. Those were massive challenges. And, suddenly now we're doing business over the phone, still a very low level of engagement with technology. So the transition it's ready to be done, but it's how you manage that transition to technology.
And I think also, Brenna, am I right in saying that every single tiny little town in the whole of South Africa has a tire fitment center somewhere? There's one right in that immediate vicinity. If we move out into the north part of the country or the northwest part of the country, we have an extensive mining sector. In those small villages, you have a tire fitment center. If we move into the farming environments, there's a tire fitment center. Because whether it be mine vehicles, whether it be farmers, whether it be people like you and me, whether it be small businesses, whether it be all sorts of people who are using mobility in some shape or form, you need to have a time fitment center to look after that small community. So your responsibility to grow your business means you need to reach right across 1.22 million square kilometers. You need to be able to be there frequently because that's the nature of how your product is purchased. You need to have a relationship with the time fitment center because that's the character and culture of the industry itself. And yet, sending a vehicle loaded with stock with a well-skilled sales rep who really should be focused more on managing relationships to the most remote part of the country to make a sale of maybe 2,000 or 3,000 rand to fill up from month to month, surely that can't be viable. That also must be a real opportunity to improve the performance of the business through digitization.
Absolutely, it's a huge opportunity. You know, prior to the lockdown, we were looking at the costs of running these big RVcos all over the country, and it was getting exponentially more expensive. On top of that, you've got a product that's quite commoditized. So, you know, it's not something that is a very specialist product. It can be easily sourced, but it's really the logistics around getting it there. So there was two challenges. One, we have to deliver value, and two, we have to maintain that contact, that customer engagement as well. So those were the challenges around getting across, collapsing that distance between us and the customer on a consistent basis.
Okay, well, now we're going to sort it out. Let's get that done. We are going to look at digitizing specifically the business-to-business supply of the bits and bobs that you make and sell into the tie fitment industry. And we want to build a solution that's going to reach every single square centimeter of this country. Let's start with yourself, Lester. Lester De Freitas is a development and designer at Web Elite. Hey, Lester, I never knew you had a musical background. I've got one too, actually, so snap. What instrument did you play?
I play the guitar and I sing a little bit too. And my dad and I play a lot together at weddings and that lately.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I tried for years and years and years to get the saxophone right. And it was terrible because the only way I was allowed to practice is I had to go into my room, close the door, and then step into the cupboard and close the cupboard door and play in amongst the clothes so that that terrible cacophony could be absorbed by the clothing around me. But I still have aspirations to one day become the best in the world at it, Lester.
Never give up, Pablo.
I believe so. So we have a website. It's a well-established website. The website talks about the products, the bits and the bobs that are available at ChemBulk. I don't think that the website's visited that frequently by the customers that Brendan was referring to, because already as things stand, this is a business that's now 43 years old. It's well established in the environment. People know ChemBulk like they know their moms and pops and friends and family in the tire fitment sector. Where do we start to create a website that would be able to engage this audience in a simple way and that will allow this audience to readily, interestingly, excitedly visit the website to place their orders? How do we approach it? What should our thinking be around it?
Well, it's obviously very important to think about the kind of tools that you're going to use, because that's a huge part of it. And it also depends on which sort of target market you want to approach. If we look at it from the sort of B2B and B2C side of things, you know, it's reflected very much of what you would have in a physical scenario, where you have a customer base that is business to business. They know you already, like you said, they have a relationship with you. They trust you already, and they know exactly what they want. So there you need a very straightforward, easy to use system for them to come in, access what they need, and know it's going to be delivered quickly. And then the other side, you have the customers who maybe don't know you yet. It's late at night, they can't call you, they're looking for something, they're not even sure what they're looking for. What are they going to do? They'll probably Google you. And that's where you now need a more customer-friendly, almost like a showroom kind of a website where the customer can step in and be educated about what you do, what services you offer, and build trust in your brand.
So I'm guessing one of the big differences between the two is if you are selling B2C, business to consumer, almost a retail type offering, your ability to use your website to sell effectively is going to be a big feature. Whereas if you're in the business to business space, you have established relationships, it's more a functional engagement. Is there a big difference in the design between those two, let's call it shopping cart pages per se, from a photography perspective, from understanding what the product is, from understanding the purchase requirement and the purchase terms behind it? Is there a massive, massive difference between the two?
I suppose it doesn't always have to be that different, but at the same time, if you think about the customer who knows what they want, and if it was in a physical store environment, they would go straight to that little back window where they can just say, I need this and this and this, and they get it and they go. Whereas on the other hand, the customer who doesn't know exactly what they need, they're walking into the showroom and there's a salesman helping them. So if you look at the websites, your B2B offering would be very much, what do you want? How many do you want? Off you go. So your design now of your B2C facing website would be much more about selling the story behind your brand. And the website would almost act like a salesperson, educating people on what the product is and what you do, and also making it very easy for people who've never heard of you before to pick up their phone, ask Google a question, and there you are, and they can find out all about you.
Yeah, very good point. So look, Brendan has a website. Chemvalk.co.za is up and running. It's there. There is a website. How do you create the shopping cart on it? Do you build it in, or can you get an app, or can you get a service and simply embed it and plug it in? Where do we start with this?
So there are a number of options to look at for that, but there are fantastic solutions that we would recommend, such as Shopify as an example, where you can now actually have your complete website with a fully functioning shopping cart built in. And there's a number of benefits to using that particular platform, but on the other hand, you can go another route and have a system that plugs into an existing website. But the question comes down to how much do you want to worry about security and maintenance? Because oftentimes the older websites, they can be a bit subject to problems. Whereas if you're starting out on e-commerce and you want a reliable and solid solution, then looking at something like Shopify would be good as a way of having a stable solution going forward.
That makes a very, very interesting point, because especially in the business to business space, still I see it, and I see it here in South Africa, I see it in the UK, I see it in the US, I see it everywhere where we do work. When I look at the business to business websites, still 90, 92, 94, 95% of them almost are still almost brochure websites. They talk about the product, they never talk about the customer, they never talk about the problems they solve. They are very, very brochure orientated and brochure driven. And one of the things that's become so apparent to me, and here's a warning to everyone who's digitizing or thinking of digitizing their business: start on the journey, start simply, start small, but know this: the process of digitization will fundamentally change your business model over time, because it opens up so many doors and opportunities. Lester, in your view, if I've got my old business a website and it's worked successfully, and I've got my reps on the road and I've been out there, and that is the way we've done our business, and now I'm looking to move into a digitized environment, would I work with my old website, or would I start thinking about reinventing my website to create the experience you spoke about earlier that would correlate and match to the experience Brendan's clients demand of him?
Yeah, it would probably be good to think about, reimagining it, because, technology's changed so much probably since that old website was built. And now, you needed to plug into your ERP, you needed to automate fulfillment and logistics, which of course will all be discussed with other panel members. And so using a system that is going to work cohesively in that environment is crucial, whereas taking an old existing site and trying to push it into that mold is probably going to be a much bigger challenge. So, we can definitely look at reimagining that and using a new system.
Yeah. Now, I would guess one of the biggest investments you make actually when you create an e-commerce cart capability on your website, and you haven't done it before, is going to be an investment in photography, because the product, the way the product's presented, what you can see in the product, how you can read the product, especially if it's a tiny little consumable, and yet it has a variety of 16 different sizes or a different gauge. Do you think that that photograph makes a big difference in encouraging the visitor to the website that formerly would have worked by looking at a physical product, selecting it, moving into a space where they can look at the product on the screen with the view to have the confidence to commit, knowing full well that those are the products they need?
Yes, it's definitely very important, especially with the sort of B2C side, the customer who doesn't know exactly what it is. So there, the pictures would be hugely important. So it's true what you said, Pablo, there would be an investment on photography. And these days, they can even do amazing things with 3D rendering. So if that would help your customer to actually be able to spin things around, put it in their living room or in their garage floor and see what it looks like, those sorts of things are all possible now with the newer technologies that we have available.
Brilliant. Okay, so Brendan, we're on our way over there. I'm visiting your website. I've got big, thick fingers from having lifted tires all day. I now realize that I've run out of my consumables. I reach into my bucket. There's nothing there. I'm going to call up either a grubby laptop or a grubby iPad, because Lester's helped me render my website across all the devices. I start to look for stock. I start to create orders. Kevin, how do I know that there's stock available when I place the order? Kevin is with Stock and Shop. Kevin Wakatama is with Stock and Shop, Stock to Shop. It's an e-commerce integration platform. He lived for 10 years in the Big Apple, traveling in and out, getting a good sense of very, very fast digitization environments in New York before coming back to South Africa. Kevin, what does Stock to Shop actually do, and how do you help me solve that problem? I love Lester's website. Brendan has convinced me to now work with him via his website. I need to be sure that when I place an order, that order will be able to be fulfilled.
All right. Well, what Stock to Shop does is we are an integration platform between your website and your ERP, and if needed, a fulfillment service like Boss Ninja. So what we do is we'll update the stock quantities that you have in your ERP, push those to the website, and then in the other direction, we'll take your order data coming from the website as they come in and push those straight through to your ERP into your customer account, where it can be invoiced and processed from there. So it's really automating the process so that all you need to worry about is running your business, and sales and updating stock takes care of itself.
Okay, so what's important over here then, if I listen carefully to what you're saying, the first thing I need to be able to do is manage my inventory digitally. I need something that allows me to list my products, give them unique barcodes or SKUs, as they're commonly known. In other words, a digital identity. I need to know how many are in stock. If I'm working across multiple warehouses, I need to know how many in stock at any one point in time. And through that, when I visit the website that Lester has created for me on Brendan's business, I make and place my orders knowing full well that the stock I'm ordering, once it is confirmed and placed into the basket, is the stock that will be available. Is that what you mean by the integration directly through into the underlying enterprise resource planning software that governs the entire business?
Yes, that is exactly what it'll be. So you will have real-time updates of stock coming from your P, depending on which warehouse you want it to come from, and that'll all be pushed through to your website, or if you have multiple sales channels. So if you want your stock to be updating your B2C website, your B2B website, marketplace like Takealot, we can manage all of that just so it's all automated, and then as it's coming through, all that is processed back to your ERP and then updated through to all the platforms.
But let me understand this, Kevin. Why do I need all of that? Why can't I rely on someone visiting the website, placing an order for stock, It comes through as a web form. It gets spat out as an email. I then hand it over to my storeman, who goes and picks and packs the order for dispatch. In the case of Brendan's business, where he's serving around 1,300 clients right around the country, what could go wrong if we just stick to the old way of doing things?
Well, it's really coming down to the idea that the future of e-commerce and online shopping really is, in a word, automation. It's going to free you and your staff up to do more that is profitable for your business, and it's also just going to ensure that the process runs smoothly. So if it's just relying on customer making an order, then going through and having a person process all those steps manually, there's going to be delays, there could be mistakes made, but this way, all that data is captured, pushed through, and you have automation processes that handle this for you. Process into your ERP, it can automatically be invoiced out, then it goes through to the fulfillment center, which can match it all by SKU and quantity. They'll have robots just go off into the shelves and just fire off a drone. No, I'm kidding. Haven't gotten quite there yet.
But we're not that far away from it though, are we?
Oh yeah, just around the corner. But all of these steps will be automated just to ensure that it is quick and efficient, because that's what our consumers, that's what consumers want. They don't want to wait. They don't want there to be extra steps. They just want to be able to go on, order what they need, and it just be ready to go out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, very good point. Folks, out there, questions you have around creating the shopping cart, questions you have around managing inventory, questions you have around business strategy, send them through. The assurance I give you is we will address them, we will answer them. Brendan, we're now in a situation, the website's been reshaped somewhat. We have created a shopping cart capability for the bits and bobs to be supplied to the customers that you know very well. We are certain and confident that every time they visit that website and place an order, there's stock in play so they can get their stock. Without that, without knowing instantly when they place an order, where the stock is available or not, your 1,300 customers right around the country, what would be the outcome if they placed an order believing that they will get the things they need and only part orders or half orders or quarter orders are supplied?
So that's challenge number one in our business all the time. So keeping up with demand, keeping up with the requirements. There's a certain amount of seasonality, different types of valves, different types of repair materials and things like that. So that's always a challenge. With an e-commerce, seeing it available online all the time and live, it gives the customer far more peace of mind around the ordering. Normally what would happen was they would place an order with the rep would place the order with the warehouse would phone the rep back and say, we don't have stock of this, we can get it in about 3 to 4 days, and then he would phone there were so many people in the chain to relay that information back to the customer. So although there's the convenience of having that rep relationship, we want to look at the e-commerce as the convenience of having real-time information, so that you're still maintaining that trust level.
And that's the key.
That's critical.
That's the key. That's the key. Before digitizing in fact, before establishing a business, you need to know who your customer is. You need to know what matters to them. The cost of the problem that is created when a customer cannot deliver to a mine, a farmer, you or me, a completed service vehicle on time, every time, is profound. The retail tire industry is viciously competitive. And if I'm delayed or cannot provide a well-balanced vehicle which is safe and reliable to my customer and my client on time, that hurts and harms my business. Now we understand the problem that needs to be solved. The experience is that when I place my orders for bits and bobs, I know that they will be supplied in the quantities that I need and on time every time. The second thing I need to know is that the cost will be just right. But here's the thing now, Brendan. We've launched the shopping cart capability. We are promoting this across 1.22 million square kilometers. Tire fitment centers in the country, there are just over 5,000. You're sitting with 1,300 on your books. There's room to grow over here. We know full well that the shopping cart is working well. We know that we're integrated into inventory because of the work that Kevin and his team have done. But now we need to get it to every corner of the country. And with that, Robin, I am going to throw you into the deep end. Robin Harris is Business Development Head of Parcel Ninja. They're a logistics business that operate very similarly to, I suppose, Robin, would it be right to say Hippo, where if I'm looking for a quote on insurance, I can go to a central portal, I can ask Hippo, what is the best quote for insurance on any particular product? And they will give me 3 or 4 vendors who I can then engage with, acquire the insurance that I need. You do the same, but in the logistics sector, is that correct?
That would be sort of, yes. We integrate it into various courier systems, and depending on the size and weight of the actual parcel that needs to go to destination, they would bid against each other to get the cheapest price. So, you could say there's some similarity there, yes.
Okay, so Brendan, I'm going to test your knowledge around this because we've just had someone come in from Musina. They visited Brendan's website. They loved the shopping cart that Lester built. They placed an order for stock. Kevin made sure that the stock is available. Prior to them striking and confirming, they need to know the cost of delivery first. One comes in from Musina. Another one comes in, and I'm cheating because I have open in front of me Google Maps over here. So I'm really going to abuse you in your knowledge. The second comes in from Swartruggens. The third comes in from Hot as Hell. So we've moved from the west all the way through to the east in the north part of the country. What do you do that can enable us, in the instant that I place my order from those 3 areas, understand and know what the cost of delivery would be, plus the timeline to delivery?
So the short answer, Pavlo, in our sort of quite analog environment currently is we actually don't. That would be the short answer. We actually don't. It's a stab in the dark. We over the years we've built up different relationships with different courier services to do Swartruggens. We know that some little guy goes there, but we don't have the capability real time to say, hey guys, your order's ready. It's going to take you 3 days and it's going to cost you 500 Rand. We don't have that ability right now because we actually have to pack the order, weigh it up, and then generate a quote. And again, there's so many different people in the chain to get that done from an operational standpoint that we don't know. We have to literally pack an order and then get a quote to say, okay, how do we get it to Messina and how long is it going to take? We don't have that information in real time.
So Robin, can you solve that problem for us? How would it work?
Sure. So what Brendan would do, he would send stock to us, various types of items. When it arrives to us, we would unbox that, we would weigh it, we would measure it, and it would go to shelf. Soon as the order is pushed through Kevin's side of things, through stock to shop and the API integration, the system would then say, okay, we've got those 5 items that would need to go into a particular box, and the algorithm within the system would decide on the box. It would be packed, the weight would then be determined, and through the system of the deep integration, it would then kick back a quote in real time to say, right, we are going to deliver this particular parcel to Hot as Hell, and it will be going with Dawn Wing, and this is the cheapest price for that particular delivery. That whole sort of process is worked in our system, and at the same time then we'll kick back to the customer and start sort of the process of the track and trace and say, thank you, we received your order, it's now with Dawn Wing, and this is the tracking information, and that process would then start.
Okay, so Brendan, then I can come onto your website, I go to the shopping cart, I place my order, I know there's stock, in that instant, I know that it will take a day to deliver at a cost of X. Can I go ahead and transact? Is that it? Is the deal done? But how do I pay you? What are the terms? How do we get that piece sorted out? Or will you let me receive stock and pay later?
So quite a big chunk of our customers are on account. So that's also where the integration with an ERP becomes vital for us, because we need to know real time whether that customer is on hold, if that customer's account is up to date. And then apart from that, we're also going to have to onboard cash customers, because it's also a big chunk of our business. But account customers, absolutely, we can just dispatch, but we can't just sort of send it without knowing what the status is of that account. So that's why it's important that when that customer logs in, that additional information, they can see their account balance, they know what their credit limit is. That gives us an ability to manage that process a lot more. Oftentimes, when we traditionally had our sales team, they were happy to supply stock, not knowing the customer was on hold, and it did create a lot of headaches from an administrative point of view down the line. So that type of thing, if that's built into any kind of e-commerce platform, that is
going to be absolutely crucial.
crucial.
But here's the thing, mostly you do your business based on accounts. Lester, if I want to integrate a payment platform, so for example, I want to integrate PayFast to allow someone visiting Brendan's site to place an order and receive it COD, because it might just be that Brendan decides to give you an option of either running an account, or if you pay up front, you get a discount, and through that, he might win some new customers over. How do we do that PayFast integration into the website?
Well, that's really easy if you've chosen the right platform, because again, if we go back to the old site that's been running for ages, to get some self-hosted old website to integrate into a PayFast system could be quite lengthy and expensive. But using a modern tool like Shopify, it's a case of putting in 2 little fields of information and you're connected. But then, of course, when it comes to, so that would be your like upfront payment with a card or whatever method PayFast allows there. They offer quite a few. And then paying on credit would be something that would be handled through the integration with the ERP. So in both cases, it's very doable using the modern tools that we have.
Excellent, great. So folks, listen, we've got it sorted. Brendan, the problem is solved. You're going to enable a shopping cart capability on your website. There are a number of options to get that right. Kevin will be sure that through Stock to Shop, we know what we have in stock, what we don't have in stock, so we can create a great customer experience. And Robin, you'll make sure you're going to get it to every square centimeter of this country on the back of the promise that the customer expects once they make that payment. There are a few questions that have come through that I would really like to address. We've got a great question over here from Rampelane, who says, it's a question to Lester. How do you overcome, sorry, this is a broad question. How do you overcome trust issues with your end users? It's a very, very good point. You know, when you launch an e-commerce capability, who are you? Where do you come from? So I guess in many ways, Rampelani, there are a couple of options over here. I'll share with you what I witnessed already about 10 years ago, specifically in the UK, in London. There was a particular pair of shoes that I wanted to buy. And it's not my favorite brand, but the shoes were Clark's. They're a bit fuddy-duddy, but they had created a weatherproof boot that was just really stunning. And it suits that wet, soggy island. I looked on the website, I could see the shoe. It was reasonably well displayed. Hence my question to Lester about the quality of the photograph. The next thing is, well, depending on the brand of shoe, you know, your size might be different in some brands to other brands. They were offering me an incentive to buy it on the site. I was tempted. But as a South African, used to terrible service generally, I was too scared to make the acquisition on site. So what did I do? I hopped onto the tube, went down Oxford Road, and visited the Clark's store. And there I saw the shoe. I tried it on. It fitted well. I bought it. And what did they say to me at the till? They said, Pavlo, it looks like you're going to be spending some time in the city. Are you traveling by taxi, car, or tube? I said, no, tube. They said, I tell you what, we will have this shipped to your address tomorrow, now that it's paid for, and you don't have to carry the luggage around with you. Would that work for you? And I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute, there's a physical store here. If I don't get the delivery, I know where to find you and I'll come get my shoe and I will get you at the same time. So I said, sure, that's fantastic. The very next day, on time, they delivered the shoe. I have never visited the store again because they helped me transit the physical shopping experience to the digital experience in steps. In your view, Lester, how have you seen it work? How do we build that trust?
Well, a lot of new online businesses are purely online. So it's the example that you gave is excellent for a business that would be transitioning to online. But in either case, there's two things I think that are extremely important. And obviously the first one is to do with how clearly you represent your product. Because like you said, if the pictures aren't clear, it's going to be hard for the customer to make the decision. You also need to make sure that you explain very clearly what this product is so they know what they're buying. And then the other side to that is not making the mistake that we do see a lot of companies doing of almost using the website as a mask to hide behind. Rather, be more transparent. Show people the human side of your business and what's happening. Let it feel like the customer can actually step into your shop with you and see what's happening and get to know the people behind the business. Then they can start to build a trust relationship with you.
That's a very good point. Robin, I'm guessing a fundamental area of trust is the first transaction. And when you expect to have a product delivered by a certain time in a certain location, and you miss that opportunity to build that first level of trust, because that's the real proof in the pudding.
Sure.
When the thing I bought online arrives,
Mm-hmm.
I would guess you've seen many, many, many vendors attempt to go an e-commerce solution, e-commerce route. Those that get returns often, those that fail to deliver on time, what determines that? What guides that? Is it a warehouse structure or what is it exactly? Where do you see those points of failure?
Look, I'm not quite understanding the question in terms of, returns and failure to deliver does happen. Okay, so for example, if somebody's not at home, there would be multiple attempts of getting that particular parcel to somebody. So generally 3 attempts to get that parcel to the customer. If the customer's not home after those attempts, the parcel would then come back into the warehouse facility, and then a call center would then have to deal with that and get hold of the customer and try again. Returns in terms of maybe a pair of shoes that didn't fit. Reverse logistics is something that can be handled as well. That is another service that's within the e-commerce sort of environment in the warehousing and logistics solution.
And what happens to the cost element of that reverse logistics? So the shoes I ordered did not fit. Is it my responsibility? Is it the responsibility of Brendan in this instance, if he was the shoe vendor? Would that be in the terms and conditions? Where do we find that? How do we resolve that issue?
Generally, okay, so like in Brendan's case, it would be for Brendan's cost, okay, to deal with the return function. If I'm talking Brendan's business versus a business like that's involved in fashion, that's very different. There's generally an element of returns when it comes to shoes and clothes. In Brendan's environment, in the B2B space, the returns probably won't be there as much as a fashion as it would be in fashion. Brendan's customers do know what they want. It is what it is, so that doesn't really exist in the B2B space.
I've got a great question over here, Kevin, for you from Robert. His question is it better to invest in your own store, or is it better to sell through other platforms like Takealot? You guys have a lot of experience in opening up multi-channel distribution points. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I can give our input on that. That depends on the needs of your business. Selling through your own store has its own benefits versus selling on a marketplace like Takealot has a lot of benefits. I would say, from our perspective, selling on a platform like Takealot really opens you up to a much wider market. And if you integrate directly into your ERP system, then you have the benefit of updating stock and processing orders from a vast marketplace, well, not instantly, but automatically. So I would say that would be a huge benefit to take from that. So
if I work with your platform and I'm Brendan, let's say, I would be able to place some stock, a Parcel Ninja, to reach right around the country. I would be able to have stock within my own warehouses. I would be able to have stock, let's say, in an Alibaba warehouse, a Takealot warehouse. And what Stock to Shop does is it allows me to ensure that that stock is counted all the time, every time, real time, so that when I'm placing an order from some other area or remote part of the country, when it says the stock is there, the stock is there. Is that correct?
that is exactly correct. You could set up any amount of warehouses that you would like, and we would update those to all of your sales platforms. So when your stock on Takealot says that it's got X amount in stock ready to go, that is exactly what it is. And as orders are processed through, that's going to update to your ERP and then update to all of your sales channels, assuming that you have multiple pulling from a similar warehouse, or if you just need to come back up to that store. That is the benefit of integrating. You can have all these processes running automatically so that your customers will always have a very clear and true representation of what you have available.
Excellent, thank you. Hey, listen, there's a great question over here from Sianda. I have a dressmaking business. What one-stop shop app do you suggest I use that will help me with inventory work, quotations, invoices, without me downloading different apps for individual services? I can so relate to that. Sianda, because the next minute you've got to become an expert on 6 or 7 different apps to get a simple process done, when all you want to do is make beautiful dresses and sell them to the women that the dresses will make beautiful. Lester, perhaps you can give us some thoughts on that.
Well, I must say, because it would be a little bit like a person being a jack of all trades versus being an expert in a certain field. It's almost unavoidable that you will be working with a few different systems. However, the way that things are going these days, the systems work together so well that normally you would end up managing things from a central place, or at least not that many different places. So when it comes to running a small B2C kind of website like what you're describing, again, a solution like Shopify would be great because it does have built-in inventory systems and invoicing systems and all of that. So you can manage that kind of thing from within a central dashboard. And if you do grow, then you can start to extend and connect to Stock to Shop, Parcel Ninja, and a host of other services all from within that central dashboard. But the short answer is it's very hard to find one thing that does everything.
And Sianda, you don't want to, my friend, you really don't want to, because increasingly what we're seeing is that e-commerce in itself relies on so many small elements put into a sequence that create a single experience. And each of those small elements themselves are improving their capability each and every time. What you want to do, however, is find one single app or piece of technology that is the single source of truth. And in my view, the reason your business exists is it's there to solve a problem for a customer. That single app that all these other elements need to integrate into to enable e-commerce should be an app that is largely a CRM. It is about the customer. Folks, we're going to draw to a close. I want to get some last thoughts, very, very quick, in a 30-second nutshell from each of you. Brendan, what are the 2 things you would advise any business owner to think about briefly, sharply, quickly as you embark on an e-commerce program?
I think the two big things for me is one is to understand your customer's journey, understand your customer, understand what their buying behavior. Don't make the mistake of having a situation where you build something that your customers do not use. I think they have to be integral to that process. And secondly, I think a lot of businesses don't realize it. There is operational stuff that happens in the background around an e-commerce platform, and you have to be aware of that and be geared up for that, because service delivery, as soon as that person makes that initial purchase on that platform, you've got to have all the systems in the background ready to deliver. That's the two critical things: is have your customer involved from the beginning, and then also make sure your entire organization understands how the process has to work, because that delivery point is going to be critical, and that holds your customers' trust.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Lester, two things that you should consider before you embark on an e-commerce journey.
Well, you want to think about, how you're being represented on the web. When people look you up, what do they find? Is it an accurate reflection of your business, and does it educate them on what you do and let them see into your business? And the other thing I was just going to mention in conclusion is, we've heard a lot of technical things from people today who are experts in their fields. Don't be intimidated by this, because the success comes from a marriage of your expertise in your business with your products and working along with these agencies that know the technology. They don't know your products like you do, but you don't know the technology like they do. So partnering together is what will bring the success.
Very good point. Kevin, thoughts?
All right. As I said before, if you want to get into this space, you really want to focus on automation. A lot of countries are really ahead of us on this, and we should be gearing up for it now. If you want to automate, you really want to automate as much of your business and sales process as possible, from updating stock to processing orders, then fulfilling those orders to your customer. If you want to automate, you first have to start by understanding your data, where it's going, what you want to do with it, and how you want it to serve your business.
So true, so true. In fact, if you want to automate, the starting point is to build it out manually first. Get it right, like Brendan has for years and years and years. He's understood his customers. He's understood how they behave. He's understood what matters to them. That's the element that gets automated. Robin, two last thoughts from you. Key to success in an e-commerce strategy for your business, especially around shopping carts, products, sales, and service.
I think that for e-commerce, what is vital is to be able to do fine pick and pack is key. That's a very difficult thing to do in South Africa. Bulk packing is quite easy. Bulk warehousing is easy. The ones and twos, the bits and bobs to a particular destination is very difficult. The track and trace information that needs to go to a customer is vital. And to be able to manage all of this waybill information, all the customers in one place is very important, and that's the kind of service that we offer as a business, and it's key to having your e-commerce environment operating correctly.
I couldn't agree more. Folks, we're going to start drawing this to an end. There are lots of questions here around the following idea. We have taken our business, we have built in an e-commerce capability, we have digitized a manual process. Fantastic. But here's the thing, how do we market it? And in our next series, because we have a digital capability to pick, pack, and send and supply stock, we now want to tell the world, because certainly what this solution will do for Brendan's business is that it will kill distance. This opens up new marketing opportunities, but we want to reach new customers, ideally digitally, so that they can transact and engage digitally. The other thing that I would leave you with as a thought is know what you're going to do with your team. Brendan is in a fantastic position where, as his reps who have the relationships, understand the product, understand the tempo of each client, are taken away from administrative, heavy processing workflows, the opportunity for them to build deeper relationships with their customers and help their customers understand how to preserve, maintain, and manage tires becomes the next level of brand building, business experience, growth for Brendan. It's where we should be aiming to take all our teams as we begin a process of digitization. Brendan, Kevin, Lester, Robin, thank you so much for giving up time to be with us. I really appreciated your expertise, your insights, your thoughts. To all of you who gave up time to be here today, you will be getting an email with a review of everything we've discussed, plus what each of these businesses does, the top tips that they would suggest when you are looking at digitizing your business. And should you want to reach out to anyone on the screen, their contact details will be there. Lastly, pay fast once again, right in a time of COVID, right in a time of crisis, where front of mind for every business ought to be digitization. You've made it possible for us to share a second webinar on the topic, and I really thank you for allowing us to do a third and a fourth. So watch out from SME Matters, what we will be discussing a month from now. The clue is it's going to all be around marketing digitally. I hope to see you then. Thank you again for giving up the time to be with us.